one is J.J. Dillon.
J.J. Dillon, that's an interesting one. What did he do apart from the initial segment with the Horseman?
He was in a couple of Steiner segments. He was in one of the flashback segments at one of the previous pay-per-views, and he was at Halloween Havoc when he. But we couldn't figure out his logic. But suddenly Scott Steiner was going, and if they beat us for the tag titles, I'll wrestle Rick. And he was like, good idea. And we were like, why? He's already agreed to wrestle Rick.
Yeah. So okay, it's either going to be a C or a B. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't amazing. He was just okay, but was he good enough to be in the B rank?
No, C.
No, he wasn't. It's a C.
Judy Bagwell.
Two segments. One was better than we remember and pretty excellent, and the other one was pretty bad, where she got too big for her boots. It's going to be between a C and a B. Was her performance to begin with good enough to get her in the B rank?
Hang on. Why are you lowballing Judy Bagwell?
She's not higher than a B.
Dude!
She's not higher than a B.
If she had had the second segment and it had been as good as the first segment, I'd be like A, all day long, A.
I agree.
That first segment was an A. The second segment
was a B.
Corpse in, oh, really?
She's not an A. She's nowhere near A. She's a B. The second segment wasn't as good. The first segment was good. In fact, it was great. But it was kind of a zeitgeist moment where you went, oh, this has worked out in spite of itself.
But
it's a B.
Or because Judy Bagwell was fucking awesome in that segment.
Yeah, but that was kind of accidental.
Awesome by accident.
Yeah. And then she was not very good the next time. It's a B. You can't... Right, there is no way that if we have people like Goldberg, Bret Hart, Hogan in A, that Judy Bagwell in her two segments, only which one was good.
Yeah,
accidentally, right. That she's an A. She's not an A, she's a B.
Juventud Guerrera.
Ooh.
Right, so I'll tell you straight, for me, he's a B.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think he's a B.
I think if we're giving El Dandy and Eddie Guerrero, who are also in the Cruiserweight division, C's, how can you give Juventud, who had a match almost every week, always performed well, and had, in the first ever show, had that, 5-star match with Billy Kidman on Nitro, where Kidman won the belt? Can we give him any less than a B for that run?
No, we can't. No, I agree. Yeah.
I think he was a B all day long.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a B.
Okay, so the K's. Canyon.
B.
I've given him a C.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. He had a good match with Paige. He had a pretty shitty match with Scott Putski, which, to be fair, he won, but it was just an enhancement match. And then he broke some guy's neck. So, besides, that's the three things he did, and I'm not sure that I can give him any higher than a B.
No. Did he break some guy's neck, or was it just him and Raven and the like? They all broke his neck.
They all broke. Even the guy whose neck broke his neck.
If Canyon's hitting a powerball on someone on his own, he's not breaking someone's neck.
No, I agree with that. All I'm saying is like, has he done enough to get a B grade? We've just been talking about Judy Bagwell because one of her segments wasn't good, can't get an A. What other else have we got in the B grade? Chris Jericho is in the B. Alex Wright is in a B. Both of these guys were in, if not feuds, they were at least consistently on TV. Canyon had that tag match with Raven that he fucked, or they both fucked, and it didn't end, and it just had no ending. Then he had one match with Paige, which was good, but again, it's against DDP, and he's one of the hottest acts in the company. And then he wrestled Scott Putski, and no one gave a fuck. I'd say he's a C. I just can't justify, not because I love Canyon. I just don't think he did enough in this run to justify anything higher than a C grade.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. I would say C. I'd say like Ernest the Captain Miller, and maybe give him a C+.
Next one, easy job, Kaz Hayashi.
C.
D. He had one.
D.
He had one match against Ernest Miller and he lost. Like, why would you give him anything? He's a jobber. He jobbed out to Ernest Miller. That was his whole contribution to the entire run. One match that lasted about 5 minutes. How can you give him higher than a D? He didn't do bad in that match, but he didn't do anything. He just came out, he wrestled, he got beat up, and then he lost. And then his manager got taken off of him. And then he was never mentioned again. Like it was just he was just a guy on the show with a Japanese manager, just so they could take the Japanese manager off of him and give him a karate guy. Like I don't know. I would not. I can't justify.
Yeah, no. Okay, you know what? You're right. He is a D. I agree.
Kendall Windham.
Oh, he had a match against Saturn. He had a match against Dale Torborg. Neither were
which
great.
weren't very good. And the Dale Torborg was a fucking disaster. But that probably wasn't Kendall's fault, to be fair.
No, it wasn't. Clearly, it wasn't. The question is, okay, so much in the same vein, my initial thought is D, but actually, I feel like he's more like a Jerry Flynn level of a couple of matches. What are you meant to do with Dale Torborg? C. I'm going to have to give Kendall Windham a C.
Then I'd give him a C. I think that's fair. Kendall Windham can go in the C grade. Next. Kevin Nash.
S.
You give him an S?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've put him as an A. What justifies him being in the top echelons of the deal?
Okay. In terms of this run, was Kevin Nash Scott Hall every single week part of the biggest story in the show?
Yeah.
It played into one of the biggest segments in the show with a backstage fight and then him chasing down Scott Hall. The payoff resulted in the best match to end their feud.
Okay.
Whereas a lot of other people didn't hit the heights they're meant to in their final match, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash actually did.
I agree that the final match was great, which is why I gave him an A. Yeah, I mean, there's the backstage NWO brawl. I just didn't know that either of those guys were particularly. I suppose then there was a whole thing where they went bar to bar, and then there's the drunk spot.
And then you have the drunk angle. You have the match he had with Brian Adams. What could you have wanted from Kevin Nash? This feud of theirs was great, and it resulted in a great match at the pay-per-view.
And every time Kevin Nash was on screen, he was awesome.
Before I wrestled, I was a bouncer. There's one thing Kevin Nash does real well. That's beat up drunks. Come on out, Scott Hall. It's last call.
All right, I'll put. My instinct is an A, but I love Kevin Nash. He's my favourite big man in the history of wrestling, probably. So I will go Kevin Nash S rank. Then I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah,
one.
no, I think he has to be an S rank. Yeah.
Fair enough. Kenny Chaos.
D. Oh, yeah, D, I think.
Right, I gave him a D. If he'd had more than one match and they were of the quality he had with Saturn, I'd have given him a C. But he only had one.
Yeah.
And he was a jobber.
Yeah, and so he had that kind of interchangeable Kaz Hayashi thing. So yeah, he's a D.
Yeah, I'd give him a D. If he'd had more than one, I'd have gone, and they were of that quality, I'd have gone C. Like similar to Jerry.
I agree. I think
Jerry Flynn just had more matches than him. And he's probably better wrestler than Jerry Flynn, but he just wasn't given anything enough to do to justify more than a D rank.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kidman.
Ooh, Kidman.
Now, I will say, can I just say, I think he's an easy S rank.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like, you can say about the storylines, but again, we've already said it's not someone's fault how they get booked or how they get used. He was the workhorse. Every show, he had one of the best matches. He defended his title every week, and he wrestled Scott Hall in a great match.
Yeah.
I think he's an S. Everything he was given, he smashed. And he had, let's not forget, the first ever show he did where he won the title from Juventud and got a world title win pop, as you put it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, you know what? I agree. S.
Kidman is an S. And the last of the Ks, we've only got Conan.
C.
I've given him a C. Least interesting member of the Wolfpack throughout this run. Didn't really do an awful lot. Wrestled a few matches. Yeah. Was never terrible, but was never great.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Our first L entry. Parker.
B.
I've given him a B because he's done so much more than any of the other cruiserweights to entertain us.
He's the most standout of the luchadors.
The luchadors, that's what I meant.
And he's not involved in a segment, but he's had a few matches. They've always been entertaining. In the matches he's in, he's usually the most entertaining guy. Yeah, I think he doesn't. He feels more than a C, but probably a low B. Right? He isn't like a Bischoff or an Alex Wright, but like a B minus kind of thing. I think that feels right.
He had that great opening match with Super Callow where he kicked him in the bollocks blatantly in front of the referee. That was a hilarious match. And then he Alabama slammed the shit out of Super Callow and nearly killed him. And then he had his awesome bit in one of the four-way matches where he slips on his own feet and stacks it on the ring apron. In the little screen time that he's had, he always maximises his minutes.
I agree. I think Parker B makes perfect sense.
Every other luchador we've discussed is a C. He has to go as a B. Larry Zbyszko.
Oh, that's a tough one. He had some great one-liners. Mm-hmm. He did contribute to the desk as... I'm gonna... It's gonna be a B or a C.
Oh, I'd give him a B. I've gone B.
Yeah, no, I think I do agree with you. I think I'd put him as B as well, to be honest.
He had too much to say. Like, he was too much involved in the shows. There were too many moments where Larry said something that was great and added to a match, or even something he said that was ridiculous and made you laugh. Like, it was enough that he did and said that I was like, I couldn't possibly give him an average grade. He's got to be above average, so I'd say B.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Lenny Lane.
D.
I agree.
He's just an interchangeable. He had a couple of matches, but nothing was special. He could have been replaced by anyone.
The only reason I'd be tempted to give him a C is just because he had more ring time. But he never did anything in any of those matches. Let's put it this way. Out of his 3 matches and Kaz Hayashi's 1, I remember Kaz Hayashi's 1 more than any of his 3.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So I'd have to say D.
Yeah. D, yeah.
D. Lex Luger.
C.
Oh, really? A C for Lex? I would have given him a B.
No, he doesn't deserve a B.
You know what? All right, I'm going to try and argue this one here, right? And I feel like I should win this argument because he's your favourite, Roy was your favourite wrestler. Right, Lex Luger, okay. He didn't do a lot. He wasn't given much to work with. He wasn't in a feud, okay? He had that amazing match with Scott Hall in the first ever episode that everyone cusses out and says is a piece of shit. Luger,
yeah, that's true.
Fantastic in that match. He also had the match where Kevin Nash was drunk and he was selling it so good. And he was every time Luger came out, he did something. And he had that banger 3 or 4 minutes with Scott Norton in that match. He had, every time Luger was on the screen, he did something that made me go, holy shit, Lex Luger's awesome. I kind of feel like yes, he can't get an A or an S. He didn't do enough. He didn't have enough of a presence to do that. Are we really saying he's a C? And then he did the whole awesome thing where he forgot how to do the forever sign and sort of wiggled his fingers at the camera and then ran away. He did enough that I was like, he had funny bits, he had impressive moments of acting. In fact, I remember you saying in one of our segments that he Lex Luger, I think he's a pretty good actor. You wouldn't put him in a film or anything, you said, but he's pretty good, and I think he's probably pretty close. I don't know, he did enough. I just feel like if you look back on the other C's, Conan's a C, Jerry Flynn's a C, Horace is a C, taking a beating well. Damien,
you've convinced me he's a B. Yeah,
I think he's got to be a B. He did enough in limited screen time to justify a B for me.
Yeah, you know what? You've convinced me, yeah, B.
Okay, next. Lizmark Jr.
C.
C, agreed, totally C. Had a couple of matches, didn't do anything horrific. Meh. Next, Lodi.
Only had the one match, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But it was on pay-per-view. He was playing into the Flock storyline as well. I'm going to give him a C, you know?
I would have given him a C just for the I'll come back later line. Again, it's like maximising minutes, right? He came out, he made me laugh, he went away again.
C. Yeah.
I would rather have Lodi come out for 2 minutes and make me chuckle than Damien come out and have a 10-minute match.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
I would give him a C. Okay, on to the M's. Mean Gene Okerlund.
Oh, he enhanced every segment he was in, but he didn't do anything. Seeing it, Mean Gene, no matter what he does, is a B as a kind of baseline.
Yeah.
But I don't think he did anything extraordinary to go to an A, so I'm going to say a B.
All right, I'll go B. I just don't know what else. I feel bad because I don't know what else you could ask him to do to increase his grade.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Unless he just
in
goes
the same way,
fuck it
in
halfway through a segment.
But in the same way, I would say Jericho is like baseline B. But what could he do to become an A? Well, he could be in a feud. He could have more matches. He could do whatever.
But for this run, all right.
But for this one we've done, Mean Gene hasn't done anything so amazing that, and he's good enough that even in the segments with like Chucky Doll, he somehow still kind of maintains the credibility and it works.
Yeah.
So he didn't flunk. He didn't fail in those moments to drop down lower than a B. But he didn't do anything that I go, oh, that was such an amazing Mean Gene segment. Well, if you said to me, give me an example of it now, I'm like, apart from the Chucky segment, maybe, kind of.
So, all right, I'll give it. He's just a background voice that adds a bit of credibility and stuff. All right, I'll go a B. I think that's fair enough. Now, the next one's an interesting one. Meng.
So, apart from his match, so he had his whole feud of. I can't put him. I think I'm going to have to put him as a B.
Yeah, I've got him as a B.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't had his match with the Giant in the very first show, he'd probably be a C.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like his feud with Raph was meh. His match with Raph was okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah.
He was a C, but he had that one amazing match with the Giant, which is like an all-timer. So
yeah,
I would put him at a B for this run. Oh, I don't know what this woman's name is. And I've just realised I've missed her out. She didn't really go in order, but I don't know what her real name is. So, the Mayor of Minnesota.
Mayor of Minnesota. Well, she come out. No one liked her. She won the crowd over. She sort of became the main person for that segment.
Yeah.
Did we give Bruce McCarthy an A?
Yeah.
Okay, then she's going to have to be a B. She did more than she should have been able to do.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say C, but you know what? Thinking back on it, actually, I've got to give her credit. She was pretty good in that segment.
Yeah.
And it was a big segment, part of a big storyline. Eric Bischoff were involved. Yeah, all right, B. Fair enough. The Mayor of Minnesota gets a B. Next. Michael Buffer.
Oh, that's so... Controversially, I might have to say an A. Here's the thing. I can't mark him down for saying stupid things because he doesn't know. He's just being handed cards saying... So, you know what I mean? I can't mark him down saying he doesn't know he's not a wrestling fan. He just reads what is given to him on a card. So when he says stuff that doesn't make sense, it's not his fault. In terms of what he did... Okay, you know what? Maybe not an A, maybe a B. We're going to give Michael Buffer a B, and the reason is this. In much the same way as Mean Gene Okerlund, he was above average, he was a great ring announcer, he made stupid mistakes by reading the wrong thing, however, that's not his fault, and I can't count against him. But I can't think of a segment that was so good that you're like, well, give me something that Michael Buffer did so amazingly, where I'm like, oh, well, that's an A. So it's a B. It's above average, but he didn't do anything that stood out to me, where I'm like, that's a brilliant. So it's a B.
Okay, B. We'll go with B. That sounds fine to me. Next one, Mike Tenay.
Mike Tenay. I did enjoy Mike Tenay. I liked his backstage segments where he was more on-the-ground reporter.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could give him higher than a B.
I gave him a B because while I was taking into account the backstage sort of reporter on the ground segments, I was also thinking, like, throughout all of the matches, he probably said the least interesting shit out of all the commentators. Like, everyone else said more that I was invested in. Mike Tenay just threw in a comment here and there. As an announcer, he wasn't as good as the other.
So I would say he's above average. He's not a C, but he's not...
I'd give him a B. Definitely.
Yeah, I'd give him a B. I'd give him a B.
Okay, next one. Last M. Mongo McMichael.
D.
Yeah.
It's going to be all the horsemen of D's, aren't there?
Yeah, and
So he's
I would think Mongo's the lowest of the horsemen because he did literally
yeah,
nothing.
absolutely, yeah.
He did literally nothing. So
Yeah.
that's our M's. Nick Dinsmore.
Oh, it's going to be a D. He got squashed by a ref. One off time. That's it.
And crushed by Scott Steiner in a handicap match.
Yeah, so he didn't. Yeah, he's a D.
D.
Yeah.
Nitro Girls.
I think a B's fair.
Yeah, me too. That's what I gave them. B.
Did they enhance the show and the presentation? Yes. If they were gone, would you miss them? Maybe slightly. But they were above. They were dancers. They brought something to the show. So I'm going to give the Nitro Girls a B.
Yeah, I would give them a B. I think that's fair. There are at least 2 or 3 different times during our podcast series that we specifically mentioned the Nitro Girls and how much they brought to the production. So
Presentation, yeah.
They've got to be a B, but they, again, like you said, they're dancers. They danced. Fine. Yeah? Norman Smiley. Another man.
He's going to be a D as well because he got crushed in a handicap match.
Only got crushed in a handicap match. D. Prince Iakea.
So he had only one match, but it was a perfectly good match with Juventud. Was that one match good enough to put him into the C rank? Because, yeah, I know we've been saying D, only one match and not really doing anything in the match, but it wasn't a squash match. It was back and forth.
Yeah.
It wasn't a mind-blowing match.
I think if we're giving people like Damien and Hector Garza C's, then he has to get a C.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I think a C is okay for him.
Yeah, he was there. He didn't do anything like that was made you go, oh, holy shit, Prince Ikea. But he was there. He did have a quality match with Juventud, who again is someone that we've rated as a B and had quite a lot to do on these shows, and they put him with Ikea. So Ikea held his own. I think C is fair.
Yeah.
Psychosis.
Oh, he didn't do a huge amount. I don't think he can't go higher than a C. It's a C. He can't go higher than a C.
Right. Well, I've given him a B.
Oh, what?
But I will say this. I will go a C on the proviso that we do what you said before, which is he's basically top of the C chart because he had a match with Ernest Miller, which was fun. He was part of at least 1, if not 2, multi-man luchador matches, and he had a cruiserweight title shot against Billy Kidman. All of these matches were good. Like he had at least 3 or 4 decent to good matches, and we're giving people like Damien and Hector Garza C for doing the same thing minus a cruiserweight title match and minus wrestling Ernest Miller. So I'm
okay. So I agree. It's kind of a high C. The only reason is if you're putting him in the kind of same level as like he isn't the same level as a Huvie in this run, so he's not a B.
No,
but he is better. But he is better than the other luchadors, mainly apart from like La Parka. So I would probably say Fine Psychosis is a high C.
And who did we give? What did we give La Parka? A C or a B?
We gave him a B.
Yeah, all right. I would say Psychosis is lower than, which is insane because La Parka's done a lot less. but
yeah, but he's made more of an impression. So what can you say? Yeah.
The next one's bit of a. I didn't really want to do this as 2 separate things, and I've also only used their surnames, which is why they're in the P's, which is Kirby Puckett and John Randall.
They did perfectly well. They didn't say anything. I'm going to give them C's.
Oh, see, I gave them a D. They literally come out, and maybe if I knew who they were and I gave a fuck about baseball and football, I'd care. I was just like, they're just 2 big black guys stood in the ring. Like, they did nothing. They walked out, people popped, then they stood there, then they stood in front of Ric Flair, then the segment ended.
Okay, but they got a pop. Okay, but these are guys who have nothing to do with wrestling. They came out, they got a pop for turning up, and they got a pop for standing in front of Eric Bischoff. They didn't do it. If they just when they said, right, guys,
we've just been debating about whether Psychosis should be a B or a C because he's had 4 matches that were all good. These 2 cunts walked out, stood there, and walked back, and you're saying they should be in the same tier as Psychosis. It seems like a bit of a slap. Like, look, if they had done anything, if they'd had a fight, if they'd beaten up Eric Bischoff, I'd go C. They come out, they stood there, they looked at everyone, and then they left. Like, how can we give them more than a D rank for that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, fine. You convinced me. Fine. D.
But maybe if it was in the UK and it was Wayne Rooney, I'd go, holy shit, they had Wayne Rooney. C. But it's like I don't know these people. Like, how can I possibly care? Like, and
Yeah,
they
okay. D.
Raven.
Oh, so he was coming out of his feud with Saturn. He definitely had a storyline there of constantly failing. He had the TV match with Jericho, then the pay-per-view match with Jericho. I feel he's higher than a B. B feels right. He's not a C. He's higher than a C, but he's not an A certainly. But he has got a storyline. He is interesting. He still keeps people's attention. B.
Yeah, I gave him a B as instinct. The more I think about it, the more I'm like high C, low B, sort of in there somewhere. Just because he didn't do enough, he didn't have enough to work with. But I'd be happy with.
I would say like a B minus kind of thing. He's not top B, but he's certainly in the Bs. I'd say.
Let's put it this way: if he hadn't had that match with Jericho at Halloween Havoc, he'd probably be a C.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
but I would say that the match at the pay-per-view was good enough that it bumped him up a grade. I would to sort of from the top of one grade to the bottom of the next grade. I think that's fair enough. Reed Flair.
So he's only in the one segment, but he did get the good pop. What did we say Judy Bagwell was? We gave her a B, didn't we?
We gave Judy Bagwell a B. I think it's fair enough to give him the same.
I think we have to give him the same, yeah.
And while I did cringe like fuck at everything he did, like for a kid, he was pretty good. Doing the whole mean woo Gene. Like I was like, You know what? If I was his age out in front of all those people, I'd probably just stand there like a deer in headlights, terrified. So
yeah.
Fair play to you, little boy. You did all right. I'd say Reed Flair got a B for me, and he took down Eric Bischoff twice. The crowd ate it up. I think it's fair.
Can I just confirm that the Horsemen have all been Ds, Anderson's a C, and we're putting Reed Flair in B?
I think that's fair. For this run, I think that's fair.
I do too, but it just doesn't feel right. But yeah, okay, fine.
I think it's fair. The Renegade.
Oh God, D.
D, low D. He got squashed
very low D
in the very first show, and we thought he was Scott Putski for the most of the match until someone mentioned his name at the end.
Yeah, D. He's there with Dale Torborg in the Ds.
He's down in the Ds with Torborg. Yeah, if there's like a low D, if there's anything below D, they're like on the cusp of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Next. Oh, now this is interesting because I think this is not going to be very high. Rey Mysterio Jr.
I don't think you can go higher than a C, you know? He had one match.
I'll give him a C.
It was a time limit draw. It was fine. It didn't blow the house down. It was his return. There wasn't a big story about it or anything.
And the crowd died for it. If you remember, the crowd died for it. So, yeah, I'd say C.
I think for this run of things we've reviewed, he has to be a C. He isn't higher than a C.
C it is. Riggs, D, did nothing, stood in the ring with Saturn in the first episode and then disappeared.
Yeah,
don't need to discuss Riggs. Now we're on to the Ricks. Number 1, Ric Flair.
This is going to be a tough one to do, you know, because for all the Horseman stuff, he was front and centre mainly, apart from his special guest stars.
Yeah, but it was also shit.
It was also not great. How much of is that down to the booking of it, and how much of that down to Ric Flair? His stuff was okay.
I think if we work through this segment by segment, so to speak, I think we can do this. First segment, one of the most amazing segments of all time, one of the biggest reactions of all time. That's got to count for something.
Yeah.
Second show, I don't remember if you remember this. Ric Flair comes out, he says 2 words, and the whole crowd go fucking insane, and Tony Schiavone actually has to laugh and say 2 little words and they're standing, right?
Mm.
That was in his second ever segment. They do then get cucked out by Bischoff and sent from the building. Then they turn up with Bruce MacArthur. Ric Flair, at this point, goes into complete bully's best mate mode and spends the rest of his run in this segment, in these shows, standing behind more important people screaming at Eric Bischoff. So it's those first 2 shows, and then everything else is wank. So what do you think?
So here's the thing. That first segment, I know it's the Return of the Horseman, but that's basically all about Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I can't deny that when Flair does come out, even on the shitty segments, he's the one that gets the huge reaction. Even when he comes out with the Reed segment, he still gets a big reaction. Weirdly enough, I still think he's probably going to be a B.
I'd give him a B.
Yeah,
only because Malenko, Mongo, and Thingy, were they all Ds?
Yeah.
I don't think you can give him a C. He was so much more than any of those guys that he deserves to be in the C tier, but to the B tier, but no higher.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Right, Ric Flair's done in the B tier. Next, this is an easy one. Rick Fuller.
D.
Yeah, D. Got crushed by Rick Steiner. Next, Rick Steiner.
Oh, it's going to be an A or an S.
I've got A/S written down. I'm not sure what I'm going for.
It was a good feud. The payoff to the Halloween Havoc matches were bizarre, but worked with the crowd and
got him over.
It got him over. He's now like a tag team champion
on his own. And
Chucky segment was bizarre. The only thing is, he does have these bizarre things where he. I'm gonna give Rick. I think it should be an A.
Yeah.
Rather than an S, because whilst he was good in almost everything he did, there were still the things of like, this is meant to be a blood feud, and when it got to the end where he's having a match with Scott, it didn't really work because he's trying to pin him. He also had that thing where he was made to look like a star in all this.
He was also made to look like a dribbling imbecile though, who kept getting fooled and kept getting beaten up and kept falling for the same trick over and over again.
Yes, you are right. But despite that, he still was so important to this run of shows. He's not an S, but I think he's an A.
I'd put him in an A. I think that's fair. And the last of the R's, Roddy Piper.
Oh, that's a tough one, you know. Didn't have any matches. How many segments did he have? Was it just the one with Bret Hart?
The very first one with Bret Hart.
And it was a really good segment, but that was it.
Yeah, and then he just vanished off the face of the earth.
I don't think it can be a B, a C.
I've put him a C.
He had one good segment, but not. But it was a good segment. It wasn't so good that it left me like a Judy Bagwell or even a Reed Flair, where I was like, "Oh, that worked so well." So yeah, C.
It was a good segment. The thing is, Piper is known to be good on the mic, so it's like if you give him a mic and let him talk for a bit, he's probably going to be decent. But he was in one segment. The segment wasn't even really about him, it was about Bret Hart. I think C's fair. Saturn, which is quite an interesting one, actually.
I don't think it is that interesting. I think he's obviously a B.
Yeah, I think a B. All right, fair enough. I think that's it. He had a bunch of decent matches. He beat a bunch of people who you'd expect him to beat.
Yeah.
And then he had a shit match with Lodi at the pay-per-view, dressed as a gay stripper. He didn't do much really in his whole run. If
you look at who's on our seed list, he's not that. He's a step above everyone there. Yeah. But he's not an A, so I think B makes perfect sense for him. Well, he was on pretty much every show, and he put in a good show every show.
Mid to low B tier, I think, sounds fair for Perry Saturn. So
I think bog standard B, right in the middle.
Scott Hall.
Oh, this is a tough one, you know. So I put Kevin Nash as an S.
Yeah, I've put Scott Hall as. Oh. Now I've put him as an A, but I wonder whether the reason I've put him as an A is just because everyone hates the drunk wrestler gimmick. But I didn't hate it, so maybe it should be an S. But there were a couple of segments in the first sort of early running of the show where he'd just come out and stagger around and be escorted away by Dusty Rhodes, and it was kind of like, it wasn't great. I seem to remember in a couple of shows we were going, oh god, they're ruining this drunk thing. It could have been quite good, and then they sort of picked it up again towards the end, and we were like, oh, this working again. But It's not his fault though that he was booked as a drunk, but I just feel like, and he did as good a job as you could possibly have done with that bullshit. But I don't know. Do we?
I mean, yeah, the phrase booked as a drunk is doing quite a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, he was also just a drunk.
I think an A makes sense.
I'd say A.
Yeah.
A. Great match at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Didn't mind being made to look like a complete fool.
Yeah.
I would say had his match with Kidman, which was great.
Yeah.
Had the segment where he came out and beat up Nash after the Bryan Adam match, which made him look like a threat again. And then had the Kevin Nash pretending to be drunk segment, which he played into perfectly. It can't go lower than an A. Part of me wants to give him an S. I feel like Scott Hall's.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things. It's weird. I can't explain why he wouldn't be an S if Kevin Nash is, but it doesn't feel right. It feels like he's an A plus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the thing is, you can't give Kevin Nash credit for that feud. I think they were both as involved in it as each other and both played their part. It's just the whole him being a messy drunk does take away from his credibility a little bit, which is all I can say really, is that while I didn't hate that stuff like a lot of other people did, I just feel like it did take away somewhat. My only concern here is that we are downgrading Scott Hall because of how much his drunk angle is disliked by wrestling fans and wrestling pundits. Because let's put it this way, right? I've watched.
Oh yeah, I can give a shit about that.
Well, maybe, but I'm just saying subconsciously, like why would you give him a lower rank than Kevin Nash? Like looking at it from your opinion, there were a couple of segments and maybe one show that he was sort of not great, but again, that weren't his fault. He was doing what he was told to do, and everything that he was given that was remotely decent, he was awesome in. I don't know. I know what you're saying. I feel the same, that an S rank is too high for Scott Hall, but I just don't. I can't really verbalise why I think that is, and I worry that it's just because I've got a sort of a subconscious bias against the whole angle because people don't like it.
Well, no, right. You know what it is, and this is going to be a spoiler alert for the next Scott. In the same way that Scott Steiner and Rick Steiner were involved in the same feud that had different kind of segments, Scott Steiner's going to be an S, but Rick is an A, right? And I kind of feel the same here, where I think every segment Kevin Nash was in puts him to the S rank, whereas Scott Hall I think is like A plus, but he had. And also, the thing is as well, partly with this, I never saw him saying about booking and all that stuff. The problem is that Scott Hall here was a drunk.
Yeah.
Like, how much of this was him putting on a performance? Like, Kevin Nash was putting on a performance, and I'm like, well done, you did a good job. But at the same time, I kind of go, well, Scott Hall, he was drunk, so was he putting on a performance? But at the same time, when he was doing a good job, that's despite of the alcohol. I don't know. A plus, like, I don't know. A feels right to me, Scott Hall.
I'll agree on an A. I can't really articulate why he gets less than Kevin Nash. I think the whole feud was great, but yeah, no. I my natural instinct is that he doesn't deserve an S rank, so we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, the next Scott Norton.
Scott Norton. Am I right in saying he only had the one match that was a six-man match?
Yeah, he was in just the drunk Kevin Nash match. He had a couple of minutes with Lex Luger where he was like, we were both like raving about him, like holy shit. But we both know that Scott Norton is an awesome worker, and I kind of think like we're not grading people on knowing that they're great workers. We're grading them on what they did in this run, and I feel that he can only get a C.
Oh yeah. He's He's. I thought you were talking about, were you going to give him a D? He's not a D. He's not a D.
You know,
C. C. I agree. C.
I think if he hadn't had that match, he'd be a D.
Yeah. Because he wouldn't have done anything. Yeah, I agree.
But he had. Even that 2 minutes with Lex Luger was so impressive to me that I was like, you're deserving of a C grade. You deserve to be bumped up for that 2 minutes. Scott Putski, easy one.
D.
Yeah, D. Yeah. The
Didn't do anything. Had one squash match against Canyon.
the final Scott Steiner,
S.
S rank, probably the top of the S rank. Like in this run, like if we maybe reassess right at the end if we have like the top of the S rank. But for me, like the immediate thought is Scott Steiner is the top of the S rank. Like he's the top of all of them in terms of this run.
Very, very possible. He was great in every segment he was in. He was always one of the most entertaining guys. His match at the pay-per-view did, again, I'd say probably did live up to what he was trying to do in a kind of bizarre way. I know it's got weird booking, but yeah, no, in the same way that Kevin Nash is an S, but Scott Hall's an A, Scott Steiner's an S, and Rick Steiner's an A.
Absolutely. Scott Steiner was definitely the standout of the two Steiner brothers, even though Rick was booked like a killer. But I think that out of everyone that we've discussed tonight, Scott Steiner is the most hard and fast S rank out of all of them, right? Like he's the one that, but my immediate reaction was S rank. Like as soon as I saw his name.
When you mentioned we were doing like the S rank, the kind of tier ranking thing, the first thing I thought was Scott Steiner's going to be an S rank. Like that was my first, before anyone else. That's my first thought. So yeah.
Professional athletes that have been through similar situations, and I rode him. He rode me to all those world championships. No, there ain't a woman in this building right now that I couldn't put down horizontally, look her in the eyes, and see nothing but satisfaction. This is gonna be a fair fight, right? Hell no! Oh. Forget about a fair fight!
Sick Boy.
D.
Yeah, one segment with Perry Saturn where he got called the brightest young talent, and then he got jobbed out by the Disciple, and we never saw him again.
Yep.
So yeah, he's definite D. Silver King.
Silver King C.
Oh, really? I'd have given him a D. What did he do?
He had a couple of matches.
Did he? He had a job match against Scott Steiner, and then he gave up one match for the Horsemen. What else did he do?
He's not in a six-man.
Nope.
Am I remembering who that was?
No, he was no.
D then.
Yeah, he was a D. He had the one match with Norman Smiley where he wrestled against Scott Steiner.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then he came out with Super Callow for a tag match, and then immediately rescinded the match so the Horsemen could wrestle it. That's all he did. Stevie Ray.
So he had that one match.
Two.
What was the second match?
They were both sort of angle matches, but he had the drunk match with Kevin Nash, and then he had the tag match with the Giant versus Nash and Luger in the second show, which devolved very quickly into nothing when Scott Hall came out. Yes.
This is going to be somewhat controversial because I've been slagging him off the whole time, but he's a C.
Yeah, he's a C. He had enough. He did enough.
Yeah.
I want to put Stevie Ray in his own special rank where we just call it the fuck Stevie Ray tier.
Right. Here's the thing. I'm not against Stevie Ray. Stop trying to make Stevie Ray happen. He isn't Booker T. Booker T is the talented brother. Here comes Eric Bischoff with Stevie fucking Ray. Stop trying to make Stevie Ray happen.
Stevie Ray, who is now apparently the premier member of the NWO.
Seriously, stop trying to make Stevie Ray happen. Stop it. It's ridiculous. It's just, this is a weird time where WCW are really trying to do something with him, but it's just a bit bizarre. But like, all the stuff he did whenever he turned up, it wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It just, you don't need to have him in the NWO trying to make him a big deal. But he did everything he did here. None of it was bad, so it's a C.
Stevie Ray, C grade, fair enough. Sting. Easy A grade, innit? Would have been an S, but the last match was wank. So
yeah.
Everything else he did was phenomenal, and then he was shit in the last match.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, I think that's a really easy A. He's not S, but the feud was too good for him to be anything below an A.
Yeah, if the match had matched the feud, he would have been an S rank. He would have been an S tier in this period, but the match was so badly done and disappointing that you can't possibly give him... you have to knock him down a grade.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the last S is Super Colo.
C.
I think that's fair as well. Had a fun match with La Parka, was in a couple of multi-man tags. Bang average.
Yep.
Tokyo Magnum.
D.
Absolutely nice and easy. Next T, Tony Schiavone.
Tony Schiavone, I would say, is just going to be a bog standard B.
Oh, really?
I think all...
A.
Oh, an A? Really?
He's Tony Schiavone. And he's in
No, you can't use that. What did he do in this run? He's still above average, but what did he do that made you go, holy shit, he's great? He's a B. Him, Larry, and Mike are all Bs. It was always really great. It was amazing to see him, but none of them did anything that made you go, oh wow. Bobby Heenan was the standout guy there.
We got to give Tony Schiavone a B. I feel like he's better than Tenay. I feel like he just offers more than Tenay.
Like, here's the thing.
If Heenan's an S and Zabisco and Tenay are Bs, it feels to me like Tony Schiavone should go in an A rank.
Okay, no. So here's the reason I'm not going to. On his best days, yes, there were times in this run where he cocked up what he was saying and made things intentionally confusing because of stuff he said. Like, this isn't the best tag match ever. Sorry, this is one of the greatest tag matches ever. Not the best tag match. And there was stuff like that where that's not someone giving him a cue card. Just read this. So he's not an A. He's a B.
And you know what? He did also at 2 different points that spring to mind call out people's bad psychology rather than trying to cover it up. He just went, "Why is he covering him? He shouldn't be covering him. He hates him." And I was like, "Well, what are you doing? Don't fucking point it out. Make something up." Do you know what I mean?
And there were times, there were times when, and even then, like sometimes I would say something, and instead of him like working with it, he'd just be like, "Shut up, that's stupid." Like, you know, Zabisco or Heenan would say something, and instead of him working with it, clearly he was just like, "No, whatever." Like, that's a bad habit he has in it, and in this run specifically, we noticed it a few times.
Oh, and then Sting makes a cover and gets a 2 count. And then Tony Schiavone immediately calls out his bad psychology. I was like, thanks, Tony.
That he is the best there is, the best there was, and possibly one of the best there ever will be. Covers. I'm really surprised there was any attempt at a cover there.
That would make sense, okay? What he says is...
one of the biggest tag team matches, not the biggest tag team match ever.
I know he's misspeaking here. When he's saying this, Bobby Heenan looks at him like, has he just realised what he said? He's
one of the biggest tag team matches, not the biggest tag team match ever, as Sting and the Warrior will be together tonight against Hollywood Hogan and Bret Hart.
Van Hammer.
D.
Now, I don't know which one of these dudes actually got crippled, but Villano 4 and Villano 5.
Well, they're both D's, so it doesn't matter.
Our next V is Vincent.
D.
Yeah. No, he didn't do anything, does he? W. Now, these two will be interesting. Number 1, the Warrior. I've given him a C. Let me give you my rationale. So, he was in a feud with Hogan, right? Hogan carried the feud. Without Hogan, it's nothing, and the Warrior is just shit. I can't think of a segment he was in. I was like, oh, the Warrior was great in this. Our biggest compliment to the Warrior throughout this thing has been like he's got a good look. Like that was in the very first episode. We were like, he looks great, and ever since.
So my question is this. So my question is this: why are you giving him a C and not a D? Because my gut reaction is that he should be a D because he wasn't just average, he was actively bad. Yes, he was there every week in the segments, but every segment he appeared in, he made it actively worse. If you're making something actively... But I understand a lot of these people in D are just... You didn't get... You had one match and it was a 2-minute match and that was it, or, you like nothing. But that D rank is also for people who, they were there every week and they stunk the place out.
You're right. Maybe he is. I'm trying to think. I'm sitting here thinking, like, is there... Because the thing is, I guess the problem is that in my mind is like we've had quite a few good segments on the podcast about the Warrior, but it's normally us laughing at him and saying how terrible he is.
Yeah. and what I'd say is this. Let's say that Hogan was feuding right now against Sting. And Sting was doing the thing with the mirror and all that. Like, all the stuff that are quite, all that's like is the smoke coming out. But anyone could have... That wasn't the Warrior.
Yeah.
And behind mirrors and disappear, like all of that shit can happen without the Warrior. Him coming out and speaking, he ruined every segment and he actively derailed it. And the two matches he had were both awful. I think Warrior's a D.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess gives you a D, and the match was fucking garbage and he was awful. So yeah, all right, Warrior's a D grade. Okay.
And can I just say, I think this ties in with Hogan. That's why Hogan's an A rather than a B, because Hogan did carry that feud.
Oh yeah, 100% he did. No, I think
you're so that's why Hogan also deserves. Because I mean, look how bad Warrior is. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, and the very last entry on our list is weirdly someone that's featured heavily in its Wrath.
Oh shit. Okay, I think. My gut instinct is B. My gut instinct with Wrath is B. He's not an A, but I think he was featured too prominently to be a C. Although his matches were all squash matches mainly.
I think he's a B. And his match with Meng at the end was decent. It wasn't great, but it was pretty okay. And Meng isn't the greatest worker ever. Like, Wrath did okay with the whole situation, and he came out looking better than he started. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we know they don't do anything with him, but after this run, they could have easily done.
Okay, I think B for Wrath makes perfect sense.
Fair enough. B it is.
Okay, so that's everyone, but we've still got DDP and Goldberg slipped in.
DDP and Goldberg. So
right. Here's what's going to happen. Here's how it's going to be. DDP and Goldberg are both going to go on there. DDP is going to go one rank higher than Goldberg.
That we're asking then. What you're
asking?
So
the question is it going to be Goldberg's a B and DDP's an A, or is it going to be Goldberg's an A and DDP's an S?
I think DDP deserves to be in the S. He was prominent enough, and his match was the best match on the pay-per-view that he put together and built all by himself. I think he deserves an S for this run. And Goldberg...
Yeah, okay, you know what? After
bigger name and too prominent on the show at this point in Nitro history to be considered a B-part player. They've got to be an S. DDP is an S, and Goldberg is an A.
I think you're probably right, to be fair. Because Goldberg can't be a B, because with all the other people on the B rank, he is a step above them. But DDP does need to be a level above Gold. Like, they're not both A's. Yeah, okay, so Goldberg's going to be A rank, DDP's going to be S rank. We do need to drop Bruce MacArthur down to B. Because as much as I love Bruce MacArthur, he shouldn't be in that A rank.
After all that.